resource.
That's beautiful. What you're saying is beautiful because affirmations alone won't do it.
Right.
Okay, can I show them something on the toolbox? Go ahead, step over here. Just over there now. Okay, so we can see the 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's the journey, right, into the center. What I'm really using is the 4 stages of learning. Okay, I call it the 4 stages of awareness. You may be familiar with that. Okay, so the first stage is what I was talking about. We're outside the circle, right? Unconscious incompetence, right? Things don't seem to be working, the way I would like them to. So as soon as I make that declaration through affirmations or intention, right?
Right.
I step into the circle. Guess where I end up? The second stage of learning. Conscious incompetence, right? Now I'm, oh man, I said I wasn't going to be like that. Look what I just did, right? So here I am, and now I'm reflective. I'm able to see, but because and for me, I had a negative self-image, right? So a lot of us do, or did. But so I would reference, I call it a negative reference, right? So whenever I made a mistake, it'd be like, oh man, look where I am. This is actually a good stage, and I talk about that in the book in quite detail. But the second stage of learning is where we develop the skills and tools, the practices, right? And sometimes it means limitation, It means I need to create a structure in my life that is going to work for me. And that's not always pleasant because, a lot of us, you were talking about consciousness. And I think in the spiritual community we have a sense that, well, we're all spiritual beings and, we ought to be able to manifest this and that. And we just drift through life, because we haven't made that commitment, to make it through those stages. And that's part of that adolescent model, too, But guess what? The toughest stage really is the second stage. It truly is a challenge because we're facing continually our behaviors and we're becoming more aware. Now, we face it in different areas. It's not like we just face one and we're done with it. We're going to go through different aspects of our life until we create what you were talking about, right? Which is that balance. Physical, chemical, emotional, is that what you were saying? We all have different ways of interpreting that, but that is a sensible way of approaching it. I am creating a balance in my life. And it has to happen in that second stage. And on my business card, which I have some here, it says Primal Coaching, Consciousness as a Spiritual Practice. Okay? What are we here for if not to be conscious? Otherwise, I think we're just taking up space. And truly, I did for a lot of years. So, I got a PhD in taking up space. But I learned through that, and I realized that I was more valuable than that. And more importantly, that I owed something to my family, to my culture, to my world, beyond what my limited view of myself was. So it's that movement from the second to the third stage of learning. And when I work with my group, and we'll do weekly things, we can help each person to work through this. The third stage is conscious competence. Boy, is that freedom? That is freedom. All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel pretty good, I've learned some things, and I've moved through some things. And whatever it is that I used to think was so difficult and challenging, it's not 100%, right? But I'm now able to see it more often and challenge it and go, oh, I know what that is, right? Now, what have I got in the center of the circle? It's the fourth stage, right? Unconscious competence. I would always say when I deal with behavior change, right? Over here, I want to change a behavior, right? I really want to change a behavior. But over here, a lot of the things I do in my life, I do because it's convenient to do them. I used to have an old Ford pickup truck, right? I just sold it fairly recently. It was a good old truck. But it had a defect. For a long time on my way home from work, it would make a hard right turn into a fast food place. Right? And what was that? That was convenience. It wasn't getting me the outcome. I mean, it not getting me an outcome I wanted because I was gaining weight, not feeling healthy, and not eating vital foods, right? But that truck, it was the truck's fault, right? You know? So I like to say what we're doing is we're transitioning from over here, which is a stage of convenience, and really behaviors that are largely operated unconsciously, and becoming more conscious of the behaviors in the second stage, right? The third stage is conscious competence. Guess what the fourth stage is? It's unconscious competence, right? So now, the convenient behaviors are now, the productive behaviors become convenient. Isn't that kind of cool?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have in a sense conditioned myself over time. I've become a warrior, haven't I? You know? A warrior against, in a sense, those things within myself that were holding me back. Everybody in this room has that ability. If you're not feeling happy right now, that's because you're facing some things in your life right now which are challenging. That's not a life sentence, believe me. You know? You can change anything in your life right this very moment by making a decision to change. Doesn't mean it's all going to happen like that, you know. But by making that decision to change, you can put in place a practice that will enable you to create the outcomes you desire. So what I talk about is creating what I call an intentional outcome. And we're going to talk about that. We don't have time today, do we, to do all of this. But what we can do when we do a one-day class, and what I'll be addressing as I do, you know, people that want to do this each week and make a practice of it, you know, we create an intentional outcome, and then we work on unfolding that outcome and moving through those stages. I didn't ever talk about what's this outside the circle, right? Creation, development, fulfillment, completion, right? Springs, summer, fall, winter, right? You know, nature takes its course in individuals, in beings, in our society, all ancient cultures. I use the I Ching every day, right? It's an ancient Chinese book, and it's all about change. It's the book of changes. And it talks about all those transition places. We all have those, but it's learning how to read those signs, you know? Learning how to become more conscious, learning how to cease to despise ourselves, you know, because we're not perfect, you know. Hey, we're just folks, you know. Whether you think you are or you are, you know, I mean, it's all part of that illusion you were talking about, the belief system. Those things you're talking, we can create a belief system that will carry us, but at some point, even the belief system ends. And we are just who we are. I mean, that's a stretch, isn't it? But even at some point, the belief system dissolves, and we become this totally connected being. That's who we ultimately are. But those systems are very helpful, aren't they? Now, these are concepts in a way, aren't they? You know? But they're also tools that we can work with that will carry us into these new spaces.